Hello. This presentation is the result of a joint work with Gordon Shenton. He's not here today. Gordon Shenton is one of the founder of EQUIS, and of course we work together on BSIS. I will introduce me quite quickly. My position is at IAE Lyon School of Management. It's a French public university, and it's a business school of the French public university in Lyon. I'm also in charge of an international executive DBA, and the DBA are quite related to impact because in the DBA, it's a manager who are making research, so sometimes research with impact. And why I'm here today, this afternoon, it's because I'm in charge at EFMD of BSIS, Business School Impact System. The agenda of the presentation will be the following, and I can say that I've been very interested this morning by the panel, because you have been discussing of a lot of issues that concern BSIS, of course. And so, first of all, we'll talk about impact. It's a current issue. I will explain why we created BSIS a few years ago, what are the main impact areas and criteria, some word about BSIS process, outcomes and benefit, the impact of BSIS, and maybe if we have the time, we'll talk about label and comparison between BSIS and accreditation. There are some differences, but also some synergies. Maybe you have seen this press release in June 2017. This press release demonstrates obviously that impact is a current issue, a topical subject. And the title was "The Economic Contribution of University in Finland is 14 billion euro." You knew that? Yeah, of course. And I've been very impressed by the fact that the university, the activity inside the university, they support around 136,000 jobs. Of course, the figure here include direct and indirect effect. I will have two comments on this news. The first comment is, you are really important people. Congratulations. Your impact is huge. Of course you know it, but personally I didn't know it before coming. So, first of all my congratulations. Really. The contribution of the university to Finnish economy is very impressive. And my second comments will be about the perspective of this study, the Big Out study. Here, the study is a global study concerning all the university, and of course, not only the business school, and of course, not only one business school. So it's quite different from BSIS perspective. We can wonder why we have today this kind of study. And we have the answer inside the report. Quotation, part of the study considered how the economic contribution might be affected if the public funding of universities was reduced. You have the explanation. You are important, of course. And this money in the panel, they use 12 times the term money. 12. Maybe 30. Okay. So the purpose of impact is about money. And the main focus of this kind of study is to demonstrate to public stakeholders that if they reduce the funding of the university, there will be a negative impact, of course, on the economy. On our point of view, maybe the answer has not to be only an economic answer. We do think in BSIS that the impact of a business school is not only an economic impact. So it's important, of course, to communicate on figure. It's easy to communicate on figure. But maybe there are other dimensions we have to consider. Second point, why did we create BSIS a few years ago? BSIS has been created in France in 2012, and then we adapted the methodology for EFMD in 2013. Why did we create this methodology? Maybe the main reason, and you know it, it's about the pressure on business school to demonstrate, to assess their relevance, but also their impact. There is more and more accountability for outcome. It means that business schools have to focus not only to internal process, but also to the output of the processes. The second reason, I don't know if it is the case here in Finland. It is the case in different countries. It is the case in France. The business model of many business schools is under threat. And so there is a need to justify the contribution to the stakeholders, to local environment, to the town, to the region, to the state. And so we thought at the beginning that there were a need for a tool to help schools to better communicate with their stakeholders. And that's why we have been thinking about the creation of BSIS. Of course, BSIS is beyond quality assessment. Beyond, or sometime for some school, it's before quality assessment. And impact assessment is linked to strategic issue. Identity of the school, branding, name of the school, competitive positioning. When you have different business schools in the same town, in the same country, in the same region, sometimes our business schools have the name of the town or the name of the region, sometimes not. And also, impact could be a differentiation strategy. So, we talk mainly about impact in BSIS. We do not focus on strategy issue, but there is some relation between impact and strategy issue. We can say that BSIS could help a business school to identify, measure. I'm not sure. Sometimes we can measure, not always. So we use the term assess. Its impact on the world around. But be careful when we say the world around. It can be a small world. It can be a large world. In some cases, the world around, it's a town. In other cases, it's a region. It could be also, we have been in Hungary, and the school there decided that the impact zone was the whole country. So it's to the school to decide what is its own impact zone. And you have here the explanation of the fact that we never compare the impact of one business school to the impact of another business school. You have the answer. Why? Because we cannot compare. Sometime a business school will decide that its impact zone, it's mainly a city or a region, and in some other cases, the impact zone will be the whole country. So BSIS try to be a tool for a transparent communication. Sometime in the panel, my colleague have been talking about communication of impact. Transparent communication with local stakeholders, decision makers, and also public opinion. Third, what are the main impact area? What are the main impact criteria? We do not focus only on economic impact, like a BSIS study. We do not focus only on research impact, like the English system RAF. We try to have a global view of the impact of a business school. And we identify, based on different surveys and based also on the experience of 30 processes in business school, 7 main areas of impact. First area, it's financial impact. Of course, it's quite classic. We know that. It's direct impact, indirect impact, the budget of the business school, the expenditure of the students, the multiplier effect, and so on, the people who are coming. Take the example of this conference. I came. Okay, I have an impact. You know, you created impact for Helsinki. I will not tell you how much you created. Okay, so it's financial impact. It's important to convince the stakeholders because the stakeholders, sometimes they are thinking about return on investment. And they want to hear, okay, I invest €1 in the business school or in the university, what is the return? First area, quite traditional, it's financial impact. Second area, it has to be the main one, of course. It's educational impact. Our business is, of course, to educate. But it's quite difficult to assess this educational impact. But we can identify the number of students we train. And how did these students find a job in local company? It's kind of impact. And we can also identify the impact of executive education. It's a very quick impact from the teacher, from the research, from the teacher to the company. All these issues are in educational impact. Third area, it's about business development impact. Does the business school help to the creation of company, to entrepreneurship? I know that some of your universities are very specialized in entrepreneurship. What is your impact? How many company has been created thanks to you, thanks to your alumni? It's a kind of impact. Do you have incubators in your university, in your business school? We try to identify it in the business development impact. But in business development impact, we also integrated all the resources of the business school that can be used by the company. Let me take some examples. When your students have internship in companies, your students have internship in companies? And not only 1 month, few months. And after the internship, very often, they are hired by the company. Yes or no? It is a demonstration that you have an impact. It reduces the cost of hiring processes for the company. But moreover, in BSIS, we consider that internship is not an help from the company to the business school. No. In BSIS, we consider that internship is a resource from the company from the business school to the companies. And we do the same, and we try to give a value to all the internship. We do the same for short mission. For example, in marketing courses, in accounting courses, you can have, I can imagine that your students, they have field study. Yes or no? These field studies, do you give a value to this field study? Generally not. But it's a contribution of the business school to local environment and to the company around. Fourth area, wow, intellectual impact, research impact. You have been talking this morning about this issue. You understand very easily that it's a very difficult issue. Our purpose in BSIS is not only to consider intellectual impact of a journal. Our purpose is to consider that, of course, when your faculty publish in international journal, it's good for the reputation of your business school. But what is the real impact on managers? How many managers read academic international journal? Maybe it's different in Finland from France. Thank you for answering. Okay, so I have the answer in other parts of Europe, but before coming, I thought it was different here. And I thought that all the managers here, every morning, they are reading academic management journal, strategic management journal, information system journal, and so on. Oh, I'm very surprised, you know. Okay, so what do? We try to identify the impact of research on manager. How do we do it? First of all, we will take into consideration the conference. Do you ask to all your faculty, for example, who publish an international journal, do you ask them to present the result of their research to the manager? Of course you do. Do you translate systematically the result of academic research in a professional journal? Of course you do. Okay, congratulations. In BSIS, we consider that we have to take into consideration both intellectual impact, we have hash index, we have the list of the review, but also managerial impact. What about applied study? I am in a business school where there is a lot of applied research. And we know that this kind of research has a huge impact on the local economy. We try to identify it. Of course, it's a difficult issue, but it's not because it's difficult that we have to ignore it. And we do think that in the future, we will not be able to answer about the impact of research only with hash index. We'll have to find other way to measure, to assess the managerial impact. We do think that one day, manager will ask us, okay, you are doing research, so what is it for? Then, fifth dimension, impact within the regional ecosystem. When we study a business school in a town, in a country, we see all the relationship between the business school and a lot of companies, associations, and so on. And so we try to have a mapping of the relationship between the business school and the stakeholders and the different companies. We mean here that the impact of a business school is also to be part of the ecosystem of all the structure inside a region, inside a town. When we study the impact of a business school, very often we discover that the first impact of the business school, it's on the university, because the business school made the university change their mind. Sixth dimension, it's about societal impact. It's quite clear, it's about CSR. And then seventh impact, it's about image. We consider in BSIS that there is a contribution of the business school to the image of the town or to the image of the country. Do you need some example? Turku School of Economics? That's the name of Turku. Tampere Faculty of Management? Jyväskylä University? And so on. This morning, Oulu Business School? And so on. Excuse the pronunciation. What does it mean? It means that each time the business school communicate, they communicate for the town. They communicate for the region. Let me tell you a little story. When I was dean of EM Strasbourg Business School, so in Strasbourg, I convinced the mayor that each time the business school communicate, it was communication for the town. And so, what I asked for? To pay. And he agreed. So it's an idea for you. And I'm serious, you know. If finance a part of the communication of the business school, because they agree on the fact that the communication of the school helps to the notoriety of the town. It's a contribution. So, areas and criteria, 7 measure dimension. But I have to specify that the list of the area and the list of the indicators do not constitute an exhaustive list. It means that in each business school, we find different sources of impact. And so we adapt the methodology. 4 steps, the process. Quite a simple process, but I have to say that it is an interactive process between business school and BSIS team. BSIS team is not here to judge, is not here to say yes, it's good or no, it's bad. BSIS team has a positive state of mind. We try to help the business school to identify the different sources of impact. So first steps, definition of the impact zone. I've been talking about that. And definition of the scope of the business school. Because sometimes the scope of the business school is a department inside the university. Sometimes the scope is the whole university. If you take the case of Singalen in Switzerland, they use BSIS for the whole university. When we specify the scope, we also integrate all the organization, all the entities around the business school. For example, students association, alumni association, foundation, incubators, all the structure, all the organization that exist thanks to the business school. Then there is a second step of collection of the data by the business school. Third step, drafting on the school impact assessment report before the visit. Fourth step, a 2-day visit on site by 2 experts, generally former dean, because they have a global view of the impact of a business school. And then these two experts produce a report on the impact of the business school and recommendation. Not recommendation on the strategy, recommendation on the impact. And we have two kinds of recommendation. Recommendation on how to better communicate on existing impact, and recommendation on how to develop new impact based on the resources of the school. Then the school will specify a development plan based on the recommendation, and at the end, there is the awarding of the BSIS label. What are the outcomes and the benefits? Of course, the first outcome is about the report of the school own impact assessment report. It helps the business school to realize the importance and also the diversity of the impact. The final report of the expert deliver a factual inventory of significant area of impact, the impact profile of the school, and some recommendation. One of the output of the system is also a data reporting system on impact. Because as you know, we have not in our business school always a culture of impact. So we don't always think on the externalities of what we are doing. One of the output is also the raising awareness among the school staff, of course. We help the school to tell a better story in its communication with stakeholders. And we can help also the school to communicate the final conclusion to the stakeholders. So the impact that BSIS has on the business school, it's institutional outreach and engagement with local ecosystem, identity mission and strategic positioning, regionally relevant learning and practice-oriented program, and also regionally relevant research agenda. There is some recommendation on the relationship between the company and the research agenda of the business school. You will find on YouTube some testimonies on BSIS. I will keep some time for the question and the comments. Very often, the communication of the school, here you have an example of communication of a Canadian school in the east of Canada. Very often, the main communication of the school is on quantitative impact because it is easier to communicate on figure. But in the BSIS report, we also highlight the qualitative impact through stories, through example, but it's more difficult to communicate on qualitative issues than on quantitative issues. Then you have the delivery of the BSIS label every 3 years. Today, 24 schools awarded the BSIS label in 2016 and 2017. And we have been around 30 campuses in different countries because different business schools have different campuses. It's about the renewal processes. It's okay. I will finish and it will be my conclusion. You all know the accreditation processes and you are involved in accreditation processes, in ACSB, in EQUIS, EPAS processes. And as you know, the accreditation bodies focus more and more on impact of research, but not only impact of research. And we can say that there are some differences, but also synergy between BSIS and the accreditation. The accreditation mainly focuses on quality assessment and improvement. BSIS main focus is on measurable impact, but also qualitative impact. Accreditation, it's mostly academic internal criteria. On BSIS, it's mostly non-academic and external indicators. And of course, there is no eligibility process for BSIS, and we have some, of course, for accreditation. In conclusion, first of all, I would like to thank you for staying awake during my presentation. Thank you. And, no, you are not listening. You are not listening. You applaud too early. And I will say that maybe BSIS is an answer to the question, what happens if a business school disappears? And of course, you think that it's a theoretical question. You cannot see it, of course. In France, we have seen it. And a few years ago, when we said to people, you know, be careful, a business school, like all the organization, can disappear, can merge, can have real problem. People were smiling. And now we have an example of a town where the business school disappeared. And they discover the negative impact of the disparition of the looks of the business school. And I think that we have to keep that in mind. And then I will say that today we have two categories of business school that are going through BSIS. We have the first category, it's a full accredited business school, but they want to demonstrate to local stakeholders that they manage a balance between internationalization, academic research, and local impact, consideration of local company and so on. And we have another category of business school who are thinking or going through BSIS. It's non-accredited business school, but they want to demonstrate that they are not accredited, but they have an impact. Now I have finished and you can applaud. Thank you for your attention. We have a few minutes for question if you want. Okay, I prepared the question, of course, you know. Okay, thank you. I gave him the first question. No, that's not true.
Well, hello. I'm a student from Tampere, and I was wondering, you talked about internships earlier. Is there a difference on the impact the internship has if it's a non-paid internship or a paid one? And what are the differences there?
Yeah, good question. For the internship, we try to distinguish the level of the internship. It's not the same issue for a bachelor internship, for a master internship, for an MBA internship. So we do not give the same value depending on the level of the internship. First answer. Second answer, yes, we reduce in our calculation, we take into consideration the fact that the internship is paid. But very often, the payment of the internship is lower than the value. That's why we calculate what we think is the real value for the company of the internship. How do we do it? We take the salary of the young students and we reduce it from 1 year, 2 years, and so on, depending on the level. Clear?
So you said that in comparison to bigger, for what example, for bigger did, that you don't focus on the money and the economic impact. But what would you say that the business schools that have done now the BSIS, in their communication with other stakeholders, what is really important other than financial impact? What would they say is important?
You are absolutely right. We work on 7 areas and they communicate mainly on 1 area. You know why? When you talk to a journalist, you have to give very specific and very short answer with figure. But you have also to consider the fact that there is different kind of communication. It's communication in magazine, in newspaper. The business school also produce a report on its impact. And in the report on its own impact, they can develop the 7 areas. And we really consider that, of course, economic impact is important. But the fact that your faculty organize each month conference with manager on their own research, it's also a kind of impact. And we can explain that to stakeholders. We can explain the fact that, of course, the faculty, they are communicating, they are publishing in a journal, but also they present their result to local stakeholders, to local entrepreneurs, and so on. I didn't talk about that, but we integrate also the consulting activities of the faculty as a kind of impact. Or generally, we don't talk about consulting activities of faculty. You know why? Because it's outside the budget of the business school. Yes or no? Or maybe it's different in Finland. The faculty, when they have consulting activity, it's inside the budget of the business school? Okay, thank you for the answer. So, in BSIS, we consider that the consulting activities of the faculty, it's a kind of impact of the business school, even if the money is not coming inside the business school. It's a contribution, because without the business school, no faculty, and if no faculty, no consulting activities. Is it clear?
Timo Korkeamäki from Hanken. You mentioned at the end of your presentation about the challenge of balancing between internationalization and academic excellence and then local and societal impact. And I'm just wondering, let's say there would be a hypothetical business school that would solve the problem by hiring specialists. I mean, hiring some people who do the cutting edge research and then some specialists who do societal impact. How would you react to that?
It's a kind of answer. We know that some business schools specialize the activities. Some as you said, some of the faculty are for international image and the other one are for local issues and so on. It's a kind of answer. The question is, on my point of view, but it's a personal point of view, is it a long-term answer? I think that when you are able to demonstrate that your faculty, in their research, have an impact on management, that your faculty who have a very high H index, who publish in international A journal, when you can demonstrate that they also publish in professional journal, that they are also in conference for manager, I think that you are stronger. I think that the strategy of the business school is stronger. It's a more long-term answer, but it's one answer, I'm not sure that BSIS is the answer for all the impact issue. It's one answer, of course.
Doing a development plan is a part of the process. Could you share with us some examples of the kind of what you find to be interesting, provocative, impactful issues that schools have arrived at in their development plans?
The development plan that we asked to the business school is related to the recommendation of the expert during the visit. And for example, in the development plan that we read, we found that some business schools created new and specific research newsletter, but not for the other faculty members, but for managers, for stakeholders. And they organize now systematically conference on the result of the research. Some other business school created, we do not talk about money, of course, they created incentive related to impact. Of course, the incentive related to academic impact. You have some. Some business school created incentive related to managerial impact. You publish an article on your blog, you publish an article in a professional review, and so on. You have an incentive. It's a change in the way we consider the impact of the business school. Very often we consider the impact only through the academic channel, the academic way. And now the question is, okay, we have research, is it useful for company? It's an interesting question. Thank you.
Thank you.